of this verse. Yeah.
It says, therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your work unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from aversion. Please fight.
Okay. So, does that sound as a conclusion of Karma Yoga? Okay. So, what we need to do, my plan for today is go through the big ideas of all the verses of this Karma Yoga, connect it to the conclusion, right? Because the most important word in this verse is sannyasa. Sannyasya, it says, karmani sannyasya. What is sannyasa? What is nyasa? What is your understanding of nyasa or sannyasa? What constitutes sannyasa?
Giving up everything.
Giving up. So, nyasa means tyaga, right? To let go, right? To give up the burden or to let go. That is the meaning of nyasa or sannyasa. Sannyasa is samyak nyasa. So, sannyasa means to let go. So, you cannot have a sannyasi who is a billionaire, right? It is contradiction because sannyasa means you have given up. You cannot be a millionaire sannyasi, right? So, that is what sannyasa. Sannyasa is a tyagi. Sannyasi is a tyagi. And what he has done is, he has given up. And what Krishna is saying here, he's not talking about sannyasi, he's talking about sannyasa. Sannyasa means giving up of what? He says, sarvani karmani sannyasya. Giving up all the karmas in me. Mayi means in me, he has given up all the karmas. What does it mean? Right? So, we need to take that up, connect it with what we have studied till now. The second one is Adhyatma Chetasa. What is Adhyatma Chetasa? What is Adhyatma? Chetas means, a frame of mind or, thinking, understanding. What is Adhyatma?
Knowing yourself.
No, not knowing yourself, but... Okay, let's keep that. Right? I'm not saying this is the meaning. I'm saying let's keep this and then finally clarify all those. Adhyatma Chetas means spiritual minded. It doesn't mean anything to us. Right? What does spiritual minded mean? Right? So Adhyatma Chetasa. Nirashir means desireless, no desire. It is completely contradicting whatever we have learned till now. Right? We said there is no desireless state at all, but in the conclusion is saying nirashir, right? No desires. Nirmama. Nirmama means no ownership. Mamata means having an ownership or attachment to something is mamata or ownership. So nirmamo bhutva, right? Being without a sense of this owning, right? Yudhyasva. This is to Arjuna. Oh, fight. Vigata jvara. Letting go of this disease, which is which the state or mental state that you are in, letting go of that. So what he's saying is, let go of your karma in me, which is spiritual bent of mind, without any desires, without any sense of ownership. Give up this desire, give up this disease of, misplaced sympathy that you have, and go fight the war. Right? So it does not make sense at all as a conclusion. So I want to tell you, like an FYI, for your information, there are tools in Vedanta, study of Vedanta, that gives you rules of interpretation. So, why I am telling you this is, you cannot just pick up a book on Gita and study the verse, because you will get more confused reading these things than without even reading anything. So, there is something called as Tatparya Lingas. That means there are tools, Shad Lingas. There are 6 tools of interpretation. Any text that is, which is on consistent in the topic, right, will need 6 tools as tools of interpretation to get and arrive at the correct meaning. Right? So, I'm just introducing this, and I will use this and show you how to arrive at the correct meaning of the conclusion. First one, I'll just give you the list of those. Upakrama Upasamhara, right? Which means, Upakrama means introduction. Upasamhara means summary or conclusion. That's number 1. which it says, what it says is, you have to interpret a text in line with what is there in the introduction and what is there in the summary or conclusion, because the summary has the sum and substance of what is spelled out in the text. So you have to interpret a text based on what the conclusions are. So conclusion is much more powerful than the body of the text. So your interpretation should always be in line with the conclusions. So that is the lowest tool. If we think, if we actually understand, in that line, Nirashir should be interpreted as desireless, and all the other places where Krishna talks about being without desire, you need to say being extinguishing all desires, which is not what we learned, right? So then there is another higher Tatparilinga called Abhyasa. Abhyasa means an idea. Abhyasa literally means repetition. So an idea that is repeated, you should interpret a text in line with that idea. Right? It is more powerful than the conclusion or the introduction of the conclusion. Right? So that is Abhyasa. What is the repeated idea here in this portion? The repeated idea is, that you are not the controller of, your actions, the big picture, the concept of yajna. All of these are repeated in many verses, right? So that is a dominant idea in this portion of the text. So, upakrama, upasamhara, abhyasa, apurvata. Apurvata means something which is novel, a novel idea. See, in Hindu Dharma, there is a lot of texts. Why do you need a lot of texts if they are all talking about the same thing? You don't need, right? So, you don't need a new chapter or a new text unless there is a new idea that is introduced in that. You don't need a karma yoga without a new idea or a new thing, that is new perspective of even if it's an old idea, a new perspective of an old idea needs to be introduced. You cannot have the same repetition of ideas in all the chapters. Does not make sense. So it becomes redundant. It is a dosha of a text. If ideas are repeated, it becomes redundant. Right? This is not a repetition of abhyasa. I'm talking about within a text, within a whole text, you cannot have redundancy. Right? You can have a repetition as a force, as saying, hey, this is important, that's why I'm telling you many times. That is fine, but you cannot have an idea that is redundant. So you cannot have a new chapter or a new book without introducing a new way of looking at things or a new concept. Otherwise that becomes a redundant book. So that is, any novel idea that is introduced, that becomes even more powerful, and you have to interpret the text in line with that idea. Right? That's so. Upakrama, upasamhara, abhyasa, apurvata, phala is the fourth one. Phala means what is the outcome when you do something. Like for example, when you read a stotra, in the end there is a phala. Or if you read this 3 times a day, all your diseases will go away. Like Vishnu Sahasranama and all of those. Dharmarthi prapniyat, dharmam artharthi chartamapniyat, kamana vapniyat kami. Like in the Vishnu Sahasranama, that is a phala. Right? What happens if you do this stotra this many times? So why is this phala? This is like, hey, at least for this you start doing this. You start reciting this. So phala becomes very important. What is this for? Because that shows you the end of the study. And so that becomes even more powerful to interpret in line with that, the whole text. Phala. And there is something called arthavada. Arthavada means nindastuti. An idea that is praised. In this chapter, Krishna praises some ideas. Krishna criticizes some ideas. So when there is a criticism or a praise, that becomes even more powerful, and the text should be interpreted in that line. And finally, upapatti. Upapatti means reasoning. If there is an idea and there is a reasoning given behind that exposition of that idea, that becomes the most powerful, in line with which you need to interpret the whole text. So these are called as Tatparya Lingas of Purva Mimamsa. This is the textual interpretation tools. So you cannot just pick up a text like Gita and start reading and hope to get the understanding of it. No. These are not meant to be like textbooks, a self-complete books. They are supposed to be as a useful tool. When you go to a guru, you sit and study with him in more detail. This is just a skeleton of it. The whole details of it comes out in a charcha, in a discussion. You cannot, you don't get it from the text itself. It's not designed to be like if you go to another class of literature called sutras, they're just one-liners. You don't even understand the head and tail of it, because it says, "Oh, therefore you have to do this." Do what? Do when? Why? Nothing is given, right? So the whole context, the reason why you have to do everything, emerges in commentaries and then in live discussions with gurus in a Gurukula. So all the texts in Hindu Dharma, most of them, leave aside Puranas, which are more stories. These are all seriously philosophical texts that are supposed to be understood in a environment in the Gurukula, in a formal environment, for the study of this. It's not just sitting with a book and reading an English translation, and you'll be more confused than you were before, right? So I was just giving you that information of how to interpret. So the conclusion, which is Nirashir, Nirmamo, Bhutva, and all of those things, is there. But even more powerful ideas, there is a novel idea that has been introduced. There have been repeated ideas, abhyasa, that has been introduced. There are some things that Krishna has criticized, some things Krishna has praised. So there are all other powerful elements that are there in the body of Karma Yoga. So you have to interpret the conclusion in line with all these expositions, right? And so that's what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is, let's go through each of these big ideas. There are 5 or 6 big ideas that we have studied from verse 1 to verse 29 till now, right? Leave aside the first 3 and 4 verses of Arjuna, because it was his question. So from verse 4 to verse 29, there are about 5 or 6 big ideas, right? So the conclusion, to understand, really get a clarity of that conclusion, you have to go through those big ideas and connect it to the words that Krishna is using that point to them. Okay? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do that. So in the beginning, how did the chapter begin? Or why did the chapter begin? What was the doubt, the samshaya, that caused for this chapter to begin?
Knowledge is greater than action.
Right? So it is because in one point or in a few places in the second chapter, Krishna talks as if knowledge is much more important than actions. Right? And Arjuna's question is, or Arjuna's doubt is, hey, if knowledge is more important than actions, why should I even act? Or if I act, shouldn't my actions be directly towards getting that knowledge, not going to war? Because going to war is in no way going to result in me getting knowledge. Right? You should have said, hey, go do meditation or go study under a guru. I understand that action as leading to knowledge. But instead of that, you are asking me, go fight a war where there is hate, dvesha, there is asuya, there is all kinds of desires, hatred, everything is there. You are telling me to go do this, and at the same time saying knowledge is much greater than actions, and I don't understand. So teach me what you actually mean, is how the chapter begins, right? So Krishna explains what he means. So what is the first big idea in this chapter?
Action is default.
Action is default, right? Action is default. Right? Inaction is abnormal. Right? So the first thing he says, why? Because the meaning of Arjuna's question is not just that. He's not only concerned about dvesha, asuya and all that. His even more fundamental concern is what? Actions lead to more actions. Right? Actions leads to more actions, and therefore these kinds of actions are going to lead to more actions. And I will always be in that cycle of actions, never to come out. So the only way, see, if actions lead to actions, then the only way to come out of that is not to act. Correct? What else is there? If somebody says, if you do something, that will lead to more doing, which will lead to more doing, then what is your natural common sense reaction to that? Stop doing. Which is what Arjuna said. Right? So now Krishna is explaining what that is. Krishna says, okay, let us get out of this illusion and let me explain what that action leads to action means. Right? Here, so he's saying, let me establish something. In the physical action, level of action, right? He says, na karmanam anarambhat naishkarmyaha purusham ashnute. This is shloka 4. Right? And then he says, nahi kaschit kshanam api jato tishtati akarmakrat karyate hi avashaha sarvam prakriti jaihi gunaihi. What all this means is, hey, even if you don't wish, as a human being, nature has made you such that you will act, whether you wish or not. Just for the bare maintenance of the body, you will be forced by Prakriti, by your instincts, to act, to maintain yourself at least. So, the notion that you can abandon action is illogical, because action is default. To be a human being is to be an actor, to be a doer. There is no way you can stop acting. It is abnormal. So let us establish that. Right? So first thing first. So actions leads to more actions, but Krishna is saying, yes, actions are default, so you cannot abstain from action. You have to act. As a human being, you are supposed to act. Did you have your question? Okay, yeah. You made that expression now that you didn't understand. Okay. So action is default. That means you have to act. Right? Or you will be made to act by nature and by your instincts. Right? That's number one. Then the question is, if action is default, and action leads to actions, that means there is no solution of getting out from this bondage of actions. Correct? So Krishna explains what that means. I said there are two things, right? There is a physical action and there is a philosophical action. Physical action is an action, right? Any action that I do, or even a stone rolling, is an action. Correct? But is it karma? What is the difference between... Correct. Right? So, there are two types of action. One is physical action. Any movement is an action. Whether it is from a living being or a non-living being, if something moves, it is action. Right? What differentiates the concept of karma and an English name as action is, one is physical. The other one is that which emerges out of a desire and is directed by an intent. That is philosophical action. That is karma. If there is no intent, there is no action. And Krishna talks about this in verse 6 and 7. He says, Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran. He says, if somebody thinks I will stop acting, but in the mind he wants to, he thinks of all these pleasures, of all these desires, do you think, he stopped his karma? No. He says, hey, the desire in your mind, that is karma. Right? Kama is synonymous with karma, because every action that emerges from an intent or desire, that is philosophical karma. Therefore, kama, an action without a kama or an intent or a desire, is not an action. Right? Me walking from the classroom to my car, is it satkarma or dushkarma? It's not a karma. Right? Because karma is, I need to have an intent behind an action. Right? only then. If like my waving my hands or blinking my eyes or even breathing, even though it is physical karma, there is an action happening, there is no intent in an action. So it is not philosophical karma. It is not karma theory in philosophy. Karma means kama. Where there is kama, which is a desire that drives action, that becomes karma. Good desire becomes satkarma, bad desire becomes dushkarma. Right? So basically that is what. So in the next two verses, that is what he is saying. Hey, if you think you can stop.
Come on in. Yep.
No, I don't think that.
Oh. So if you in the karma, if you have an intent in that karma, that becomes your philosophical karma, right? So the next two verses, what Krishna is saying is, if a person stops acting but has all sorts of desires in the mind, he is still in the karma bandhana, because the real karma is in the kama, right? That the desire is the real karma, the action. That because now, even though you are not acting, the withholding of action due to your desire is also karma. See, karma is not just acting. Karma is also abstaining from action. Right? Philosophical karma. If you abstain from doing good, you are doing bad karma, even though you are not doing anything. Right? So, physically doing or not doing does not matter. It is what you intend in the mind that matters. So, ya aste manasasmaran. That is what? So, that is the second big idea, right? What is the second big idea? It's a desire is action or karma. So when we say my karma, my dushkarma, it means all the actions that I have done with a bad intention. That is my dushkarma. All the actions that I have done with good intention, that becomes my satkarma. Right? So this is the second big item. Now, okay, you need to explain to me how karma gives rise to more karma. See, because let me give you a contrary opinion. Okay, if you are angry, right, you vent your anger, your karma ends. Right? You venting the anger, constructive way or destructive way, whatever it is, you vent it out, and then your karma stops. How is it leading to more karma? How can any karma lead to more karma?
It's not
You don't get the result because you're looking for more results. More,
But karma, you need to tell me how a karma leads to more karma.
It's tough for you, but let's say you're driving and you shoot a finger to somebody. You're done. It's out.
No, but it's only talking about you.
But
When it says karma leads to more
another
karma,
person
yeah.
might get angry, and then he might
There are
get
ramifications.
angry onto somebody
Oh,
else.
but that is ramification which is not your concern.
No, it is.
No. Let's say
Caused by us, right?
it's caused by us. But in what Krishna means is when karma leads to more karma for you. No.
I mean, we are accumulating bad karma, good karma. You're talking about that one now.
No. I'm just saying, you not philosophy, not anything. What does it mean when Vedanta says karma leads to more karma and hence it is a problem? You need to let me know how a karma will lead to more karma. Because I am saying when karma is expressed, it is done.
When you're attached, it leads to more.
Okay. Oh.
It's like a snowball.
But you're saying when you're attached. I'm saying, you tell me without no attachment, nothing. Just karma. How action leads to actions? Does it or does it not?
It does.
You need to tell me. No, don't tell me because Vedanta is saying.
No, it
Tell me because you think it is.
You talk about the pyramid scheme where you start something and then he kind of grows into.
No, for you. I'm saying,
Chain reaction.
leave the chain reaction of other guys, right? Just for you. Because Arjuna's concern is, if I do this karma, it will make me do more karma.
Desires beget desires. So you get
Correct. That is, see, it is not action that Krishna is talking about, or even Vedanta is talking about. When Vedanta says, one karma leads to another karma, which leads to more and more karma, it is saying because what? What is philosophical karma? Desire. The nature of desire is to multiply. Desire has no goal. right? Because once you get into one thing, it transforms into some other thing. I got this big house, now I want a bigger house, right? So you come to one end, there is a bigger one that is waiting for you, right? So karma has no end. There is no end goal, and therefore kama has no end, right? Kama is anala. That means it has no satisfaction. It has no end. Kama, desire, always multiplies. That is exactly what Arjuna or Vedanta means by saying karma leads to karma. That means desire leads to desire. Attachment leads to more attachment. Right? It's not talking about physical. If it is physical action, there is no way one physical action leads to another physical action. That action can cease. It is talking about the desire. One desire leads to another desire, leads to another desire, leads to many, many desires, and you will be bound by desires. Basically, that is what karma bandhana is, being bound by desires. Right? That is what. So, karma leading to karma is that. Which is what Krishna has explained here. Desire is karma. An action that emerges out of a desire is basically karma. Correct? And karma leads to karma is the potency of desire to multiply itself. That is what karma leads to karma. Correct? Correct or not?
Correct.
Okay. So now 3. Now if that being the case, there is another point, which is there is no way you can extinguish desire in man. Agreed or no? Can you have a desireless state?
When you transcend.
I'm saying any desires. Can you have a desireless state?
Such as when you sleep.
When you sleep.
When you're sleeping.
No.
Okay, when you're sleeping, yeah, sleeping is fine. But when you're awake, do you have a desireless state?
Prakriti is such that you have to have a desire to move on.
When you're dozing.
When you're what? Now, even when you're dreaming, there are desires, right?
Sages finally attained that.
No, there is no desireless state. Even sages. That's the concept. I'm
It's
going
desire
to.
to meditate.
No, correct.
Higher goal.
No. Think of, so is there a desireless state at all? Right?
There can
See,
be. There can be.
there cannot be. As long as you're human, desire is part and parcel of it. Being human. To be human is to have a desire. There is no way you can transcend desire. There is no way possible. Right? And like you said, when you are in deep sleep, there is no abhimana to deha. So that is only way. That's the only time when your ananda comes from within. At all other times, there is some desire. So that is a given. Right? There is always a desire. So that means it is always going to multiply, right? Again, there is a problem. So Krishna says, what is Krishna saying? Yajñarthat karmanoha anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. So, he says, desire is inevitable, but desire to do good is required. Right? Desire to meditate is required. Right? It is only desire to do bad that needs to be eliminated. Right? If desire is a given, like action is a given, right? You cannot extinguish desire. You cannot. Then what? When Vedanta talks about extinguishing desire, what does it mean? Bad desire, rajasic desire, tamasic desire. Right? Desire for selfish gains. Desire to do good. Oh, you need to have the desire. Right? Okay, I need to relate a very interesting story, and even though I know I will be running out of time, it's 11:28, but I'll try to make it fast. Okay, in Mahabharata, it's very beautifully explained. I mean, Mahabharata, 30% of Mahabharata is after, 50% of Mahabharata story is after the war, after the Kurukshetra war, of which about 30% is Yudhishthira Bhishma Samvada called Shanti Parva. Right? That's about 30% of Mahabharata. And it is, that when Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows, and Krishna tells the Pandavas, hey, he is about to die, and he has so much wisdom that will be lost to humanity, it is your duty to go and ask him questions and gain that knowledge so that it is shared with humanity. Otherwise it's going to be lost. So you guys that's the first call of duty. You need to go, you need to ask him everything from Rajadharma, from economics and how to behave, what is fasting. I mean, all the spectrum, the gamut of questions, Yudhishthira, the Pandavas, all of them go there, ask Bhishma, all these kinds of questions. And he answers everything and finally, he dies. And so that, very interesting. I mean, every question has a story. Right? And it is like 30% of Mahabharata. Fantastic. So, in one of that thing, like, what the Pandavas do is they go to, and they camp near where Bhishma is lying in the battlefield. And every day at sunrise they go to Bhishma and then ask him questions. Sunset they come back to their camp. Every day. And they do it over multiple days. And in one of those days, while they're coming back, they come back to the camp after finishing, discussions with Bhishma. They're still in the mood of the discussion. So Yudhishthira asks the question to all the Pandavas. Vidura is also there. He says, hey, 4 Purusharthas. What are the 4 Purusharthas? Purusharthas. What are our 4 pursuits in life? Correct? All of you know that? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Moksha is not natural. Right? Moksha is the pursuit of moksha is not natural. You need to be told what is that state, and you need to be trained to get out of samsara. So moksha is not natural to everybody in the world, right? There are 3 pursuits are natural. The pursuit of virtue or ethics. Most of the times everybody in the world, whether he is a Hindu or not, does not matter. If he is a man, a person, they have some ethics or some morality is there, some pursuit of ethics is there. Artha, no need to say anything, right? We all pursue wealth, right? Whether it's in India, US or in anywhere, right? So pursuit of wealth, pursuit of kama, definitely, right? Pleasures, comforts, everything. You don't need any training. Naturally we pursue these 3, right? Dharma a little bit, but artha and kama for most part, right? Moksha is something that you don't naturally do, but you have to be told and all of those things. So these 3 pursuits are natural. Yudhishthira's question to the Pandavas and Vidura is, hey, among these 3, which one is the highest pursuit, which one is the middle, and which one is the lowest? These 3. So Vidura answers this question first. Vidura says, dharma is the highest. Because any artha that is gained, any pursuit of wealth, which is not tied to dharma, is unsustainable. It is ultimately going to crash. Right? Any kama, any enjoyment that is not tied to dharma is self-destructive. So dharma and artha, artha and kama, without being attached to dharma, destroy a person. Right? If earning of wealth is unethical, that destroys the person. If enjoyment is unethical, that destroys the person. So, because dharma is at the root of gaining of wealth, as also root of seeking pleasure, dharma is the highest. Then artha. Because artha is the means to kama. And then lowest is kama. So, dharma first, artha second, kama third. Then he says, Arjuna, what is your opinion? Arjuna says, artha is the highest pursuit. How many of you are shocked? How many? Okay, without even relating the story.
This was after Krishna explained the Gita to her.
Yes. Oh, see, that is, yeah, that's good. That's good. Right? This is after everything is done.
People won't change this.
No, I'm going to tell you this. After hearing the story, you will agree with Arjuna. Okay?
Is it because of the resource that he's talking?
Correct. Artha is the highest end, he says. Why? Because 2 things about dharma and artha combination. First thing, a person who does not have anything to eat or any resources, what dharma is he going to engage in? Nothing. Right? That's number 1. Number 2, a person with small resources, what kind of an effect does he have with his dharma just for himself. Think about artha, a person with that kind of resources, what kind of impact he can have in spreading of dharma. So artha becomes a force multiplier for dharma, right? Artha is at the root of dharma, because without anything to eat, you go into something called, which is also discussed in Shanti Parva, called apad dharma. Apad dharma means if somebody is keeping a gun to your forehead, what things can you do, and what kind of dharma you can override? Should you still be speaking truth? All of those questions come, right? So it becomes an apad sthiti, right? It is like it's a question of my sustenance, my existence, and should I still be doing dharma, right? So you need to have artha to even do dharma. Agreed? And if you have artha, your dharma will be force multiplied, right? You can spread your, instead of affecting one person, you can affect millions with your dharma. So dharma is there. The mula of dharma is artha, right? And then kama. The mula of kama is artha, definitely, right? Without money, what comfort will you get? You don't. So, because artha is at the mula of dharma and artha is in the mula of kama, what is the highest? Artha is the highest. Right? Then dharma, then kama. Then kama. Correct? So how many of you agree to this? Oh, she is the keys. How many of you agree and how many of you disagree? Right?
At Warren Buffett, the billionaire, he was telling the same thing.
But now you were questioning just a minute ago.
He says it's much more easy to do charity when you have a lot of money.
Correct. Yeah. So Arjuna comes from there. See, everything is tied to dharma, but artha becomes the highest pursuit only if it is tied to dharma, as something artha helping dharma and artha propagating dharma. So artha becomes highest. When artha is used in the interest of dharma, artha becomes the highest because it multiplies the power of dharma. Therefore, artha becomes the highest. Okay, and then Nakula Sahadeva is also, say the same thing. Yes, wealth, pursuit of wealth is the highest. Then dharma, then kama. They ask Bhima, what is your opinion? He says, kama is the highest. Now, how many of you agree? How many of you are shocked? It's definitely shocked. Okay.
It's a good desire, having good desires is right.
Right? So, kama is the highest, he says. And then, like all of you, everybody there is also shocked. Bhima is he's the highest jnani. Because he's Hanuman, right? He's Hanuman in Ramayana. So he says, okay, see, kama is not just comfort. Kama is desire. Right? Kama is desire, which is at the root of everything.
Without desire, you can get artha.
How the pursuit of wealth needs the desire for wealth. Pursuit of comforts needs the desire for comforts. Pursuit of dharma needs the desire for dharma. If I don't have the desire to do good, what good will I do? No. If I don't have desire to earn wealth, what wealth will I earn? No. So what is the root? Desire, kama. Right? Kama is the first because it is at the root of dharma pursuit and is also at the root of artha pursuit. Right? So first is kama, then dharma, then artha. And then finally he says, the very question is flawed, Yudhishthira. Because all of these three are connected with each other. There is no high, low, medium, low in these three. The high, medium, low should be when the three are together, that is the highest. When you pursue only two, that is the middling. When you pursue one alone, that is the lowest. Right? When you pursue artha with dharma and kama, that is the highest pursuit. Right? That means you are giving ethics and comfort and resource, all of them together. That is the highest. Right? When you are only pursuing two, what happens? If you are only pursuing dharma and artha, hey, you are making money for what? You are not even enjoying it. Okay? Useless. There are people who just go on making money, they neither enjoy nor let others enjoy. Okay? It's useless, right? Artha is for a purpose, to have enjoyment and comfort, right? For in the kama side. And also dharma side, to do dharma. Artha is needed. So if you just have dharma and artha, you are miserable in life. So that is not good. That is middling, right? If you have artha and kama, that is all of us, right? At least myself. That means you're earning, you're enjoying, no sense of ethics, no sense of giving back, no sense of nothing, right? So that is bad. And it's not sustainable. Then, what is the other one? Dharma and kama. No artha. No artha means what dharma and what kama? Nothing. So it's not sustainable. Pursuing one alone is worst. Dharma only, there are people who will only do dharma and say, earning money is bad. Enjoying is bad. You should only, be very strict in life like this. That is, see, Bhima is saying that is the worst. If somebody says you should not pursue wealth or pursue comfort, only be in dharma, unsustainable. It destroys everything. It destroys prosperity. It destroys happiness in life.
Sages and all those people in the forest, sages, they all live.
No, that's why I'm saying. That's why you need to use Tatparya Lingas to understand what they said. Right? So this is what the exclusive dharma is never said anywhere in the whole of Vedantas. The artha and kama in line with dharma is what they say. That is what is sustainable in life. So pursuit of dharma alone, pursuit of artha alone is again, you are unethical first of all, right? You are pursuing money in unethical means. You are not enjoying yourself, not letting others enjoy. This is the worst thing, right? That is the pursuit of one only, artha. Pursuit of kama alone is a person who does not even earn money, somebody else's money, he is enjoying, he is not even pursuing wealth. So it's not, if you earn something and use it to enjoy, okay, that is okay, it's middling, right? Artha and kama. Kama alone means it is not your money, nor do you have any ethics, all you are doing is enjoying. That is the worst, right? That's hedonism. Yeah, somebody's money, no ethics, only enjoyment. So if it is highest, middling and lowest, it is these three. Three together, highest. Two, middling, and one alone is the worst.
It's like 3 is, sattva, and 2 is rajas.
And one is tamas kind of thing, yeah. So, now, see, that's why artha can also be the highest pursuit, kama can also be the highest pursuit, only when it is all tied to dharma. The beauty of this, right? This is in the Mahabharata, and then Yudhishthira comes back and he says, you know what? Moksha is the highest. They say, of course, moksha we all agree it's the highest. Your question was, it's 3, and in that differing opinions. And fantastic, these kinds of stories are there everywhere in the Mahabharata, especially in the Shanti Parva. All of those things. And in the class, I'm going to relate some stories. Was it this interesting story?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so why did this come? Kama, right? I was telling something about kama. Okay, yeah, that was the point. See, to be human is to have desire. So desire cannot be eliminated, extinguished. Just like Bhima said, hey, the desire to do good is required. The desire to help is required. The desire to meditate is required. The desire to go listen to Shastras is required. Right? Mumukshu, desire to become a mukta, it is also a desire, right? Mukti, you need to have a desire to attain mukti. So you can do sadhana. So if that desire itself is not there, what sadhana will you do? So that desire is fundamental to all of these actions. Therefore, desire is most important. What is the thing, what we don't want and what we want to eliminate is the things that bind us. The desire that binds us, we want to eliminate. The desire that helps us, we want to befriend and use. And that is what is the concept of yajna. So yajna is, hey, these desires can be a very positive force in our life only if you convert any of your actions or any of your desires to a yajna. Right? So the third big item is the concept of yajna, right? So concept of yajna. What is the concept of yajna? What is yajna? What does yajna do?
Offering.
What is offering?
Payback.
It's a concept of payback, right? So yajna, see what yajna, see Krishna says in one of the verses, akritsnavado mandan kritsnavatna vichalayet. Akritsnavat means most of the times the way we see is very narrow, right? We see in a very narrow way, narrow sense. And yajna is a way of broadening the horizons so that you see the actions that you do in the big picture. And what are those big pictures? What are the Panchamaha-yajnas that I talked about when we were discussing yajnas? What are the 5 yajnas? Obligatory duties. Pitra yajna. Bhuta yajna. Right? There are 5 domains, right? So what it is saying is, first give before you take. That's the concept. You get what you give. Whether you give it now or you have given it way back in your previous lives, you get what you give. That's the concept. So, we get a lot of benefits from society, we get a lot of benefits from nature, we get lots of benefits from the lineage in which we are born, Pitrus, we get a lot of benefits from the animal world and the wisdom that's come down through the Upanishad, right? This is all getting, taking. What did you give?
What was the question? I was like thinking about yajna. What did you give means what? It's like in general?
I'm saying, in these 5 domains, we have had food, right? What did you give back? You took food, what did you give back? Huh?
Doing some
No.
thing.
No, and I'm saying right now, you eat your food. What do you give back? Don't tell me you flush it. No, I'm not asking that. What do you give back?
Very difficult question.
No. I'm asking you. I'm not saying what are you giving back. I'm saying what did you give back or did you give back?
Before eating food?
No.
No. It's a controversial question. So it's like whether you giving back to, before you do eat food, are you praying God or,
No. I'm saying, see, Daiva, Adhidaiva domain means what? See, what are Devas? Devatas, not Brahman. I'm talking about Devatas. Devatas are keepers of nature, right? They are forces of nature that we directly interact with. Forces of rain, forces of wind, Vayu, forces of, Varuna, all the Dikpalakas, all of these are nature gods, right? They're the Devatas of nature with whom we interact in the natural domain. Correct? Pitrus in the Bhautika domain. The lineage, the language, the mother tongue that we got, the traditions that we got, all of those things, the practices that we got, the rituals we got, all of those are in the Pitru domain. Right? And Rishi domain is all this, Hindu Dharma, Upanishads, the ideas of Upanishads and all of those things are Rishi Yajna. Manusha Yajna, your friends and family, your give and take which happens there. All the friends, the things that they have given you and all of those things become the Manusha Yajnas, right? Bhuta Yajna, the animals which are giving you the products. What did you give back? So we live in these domains. Panchamaha Yajna, what are we giving back today? Now, for example, coming to food, right? You go, because somebody might say, and I'm going to ask you this question, hey, I got my food from McD's, I paid money, that's it, I gave back. Yajna is like that, right? It's a mandatory giving. It's like paying the price. I paid to Subway, I got my food. Did I do my yajna?
You made the business.
I did a business transaction. Did I do yajna? Why?
Yajna without desiring anything back.
Because that's what you
No, here is, here, Krishna is talking about, he says, he says here, Ishtan bhogan hi devaha dasyante yajna bhavitaha. Hey, you satisfied the devatas, they will satisfy you with all the bounties. So there is no desireless or desire, it's not there. That is the next step. But just living, he says, is giving and taking. Or in other words, sharing. To live is to share. And you are in all these domains. You are in the domain of nature, you are in the domain of society, you are in the domain of the people who you live with, be friends with, the wisdom that you have got, the animal kingdom. All of these are there. You are getting things from them. And my question, especially in terms of eating food, you paid the money to Maccadees. Have you done yajna or not?
To get that money that you paid, you have worked behind it.
Leave that. Just that simple transaction of giving money to receive food, is that yajna or not?
No.
Okay. Why yes, why no?
Because it's a given like two-way transaction.
Yajna is a two-way transaction.
This is also two-way transaction.
Oh, you said yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a two-way. Okay, he says yes. What about you?
No, because you didn't do anything extra. This is what you were supposed to do. Because if you don't pay money, you don't get food. If you
Right.
paid money, it's just a business transaction.
Alright.
Now, if you do something extra, let's say you're talking to the waiter and saying, "Oh, I have debts and I have to go to school," you give extra tip. That would be a yajna.
Okay, but you are taking it into some other place. But the thing is, I said, when you are narrow, it is no longer yajna. When you broaden the horizons, it is yajna, right? When you are eating the food, where is it coming from? Not from the restaurant. Coming from nature. The transaction, what did it do to nature? What did you do to nature from which you got the food? It's not yajna because that did not happen. Correct? See, we are talking not about a transaction, a human transaction. I'm talking about you got the food which is sourced from nature. What did you give back to nature?
It's
Huh?
more it's more saying, I'm going to go transplant a tree.
Huh?
It's more acting as
Grow more
a...
crops. Put more trees.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's more crops.
But did we do that?
Tree.
I mean,
You can't do everything. So
No, what did you do?
I think some people manage the crops, the
Right.
agriculture side, some people are managing, so there's a division of labor.
Correct, okay, it's fine.
So you can't go and put
Okay, what did you do to manage that division of labor?
I didn't waste
Then
food.
also,
I didn't make trash.
That is very important,
I
right?
didn't waste food.
Annam na nindyat tat vratam, right? That is there in Taittiriya Upanishad. So, that is fine. See, if we put all this in terms of, term like carbon footprint, recycle, then it becomes, we need to do that. But when you put it in terms of yajna, which is basically what it is talking about, right? It is saying you need to give back from the place where you take. Right? It is your sacred duty to sustain nature, which is the force of, which is the source of what you're consuming. Right? So just by giving money, we didn't do anything. Right? So if you go back, like many decades ago, people used to do, like for example, even today, why do we do naivedya? What at least do you know what naivedya is? Devata naivedya. What is naivedya?
Before eating food, like doing...
Right? Pranaya swa, apana swa. So what is naivedya? Offering of the food to the deity. Right? Basically it is where it came from. It is going. One aspect of Deva Yajna. Just offering does not mean we sustain the source. We have to physically also do things to sustain the source, but this is also a part of Devata Yajna, right? Naivedya.
And also keeping the food for crow before you eat.
That's Bhuta Yajna.
Bhuta Yajna, it comes automatically.
Yeah, food. They keep rice on the side of the the plantain leaf. And if you go to the temples where they eat food, they keep rice, which is as something for the bhutas, for the animals, right? For the insects and animals.
Brahmins do that before they eat.
Yeah, correct. Putting that is actually Bhuta Yajna. You're doing Bhuta Yajna. Or putting the food after whatever you have finished, that waste is also edible for the animals. That waste goes to the animals. It becomes their food. That is again Bhuta Yajna. This is waste management. Right? And in the future this will have a very beautiful English term, and we will all follow that. But until then, please wait. Right?
So that's why I said we were teaching our kids about putting a bird feed in the bag.
But which is that's Bhuta Yajna.
Including
Right?
water.
And bird feed and all of those. It is our duty to sustain the animal and the plant and animal world, because we get things from them. Pitrus is again, it is our duty to maintain the language, the lineage, the rituals that we have got from our forefathers. It is our duty to spread it to the kids, in our kids and people, and to do ourselves also, right? So all of these are Pitru Yajna, right? Bhuta Yajna, Pitru Yajna, and Rishi Yajna is spread of wisdom, to inculcate the wisdom and to spread it to others. That is Rishi Yajna. So all of these, what? Taking, giving, right? Giving and taking, which is basically what? Sharing. You share in the natural world, you share in the Pitru, you share in the Jnana, you share in the animal world, and you share with people. Manushya Yajna is sharing with friends and family. Right? Give and take. So to live in society is to have a give and take. So if you take without giving, stena eva sahaja, he is a thief. And he is aghayu, his life is a sin. What Krishna says. So that is the big idea of this chapter. The whole Karma Yoga is the concept of Yajna. The fourth chapter will increase the scope of Yajna, which we have already discussed somewhat. But the whole chapter, fourth chapter, will talk about different kinds of Yajnas. All of these, every action can be transformed into a Yajna. How it happens and all of those things. This is the third big idea, which is the idea of Yajna. Yajna means give before you take. Think about the big picture and give back to the source from which you get. Right? That is the third one. What is the fourth big idea? No, that's the big ideas of the second chapter. Right? So I'm talking about the big ideas of the third chapter. Right? The third one was, the fourth one was concept of role model.
Yeah.
Right? Role model. What Krishna is saying, action is mimicked by actions. What we do, others also copy. Right? So, not only is our doing important for us, it is also setting an example to others. So, by doing here, you are also doing here as a role model. Correct? So, Krishna says what? What does he say in terms of role models?
He say people look at Arjuna as a role model, so you have to act.
You have to act not because of yourself, also because you are setting an example at the same time. Therefore, you are a role model. You are a role model to the society, and therefore everybody. Okay. So everybody has the duty to be good role models, because there will be some people looking up to us and copying our examples, at least until some point. So it is our duty to set good examples and good practices in life and be good role models. So that's the fourth big idea. What is the fifth big idea? What is the fifth? What happens after role model?
I did it.
No, that is the last one. Change should come from inside, right? It is tied to this. It should come from within. Change should come from within. He says, do not force another person to change. Correct? Krishna says, do not. Na buddhivedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani yukta karma samacharan. That means, hey, do not force somebody, because anything that's forced from outside does not transform. It changes. I should have written transformation. So transformation comes from within. Therefore, but transformation comes only when people are inspired by your action, not when you preach them to act. Right? Therefore, he says, Arjuna, you need to act, to be a role model, because that changes people, that inspires people to act. Right? So change should not be forced. Transformation should come from from inside, and your actions should inspire such a transformation. Right? Everything tied to yajna, concept of yajna. Okay, that was. I mean, do you remember all these discussions that we have had? Okay, these are not new things. I'm just going over those. What about the sixth one? After that was the illusion of control, right? The illusion of control. Hey, what did I do and what did I not do? Right? What we do consciously is what is the doership, right? I do 1%. 99% of the actions that I do are from Prakriti. That which is consciously done is my actions. That which happens below my conscious level are Prakriti's actions, and both of these are inspired by Paramatma. Okay? So am I the doer? An instrument, right? So there are three doers: I, Prakriti, and Paramatma. Paramatma is complete doer. I is 1% of it, which whatever is consciously that I do. Buddhi pravartaka. So whatever I do consciously becomes that my actions. What happens below my conscious level is Prakriti's actions, and both are inspired by Paramatma. But because of ego, we think we do everything, right? So that's I can call it illusion of control, but so this is more detailed, exposition on illusion of control that was there in the second chapter. So all of these are the 6 big ideas that was taught in the third chapter. Action is default, inaction is abnormal, desire is what is action, desire multiplies, therefore action multiplies. Concept of yajna is, hey, desire cannot be extinguished, therefore good desires are needed, therefore you need to befriend them. And how do you do that? Yajna is the concept where the horizon of your action becomes broader, and you see your action in terms of where you get that, your give and take, your sharing with nature, with your pitrus, with the society, with the bhutas, everything. Therefore your actions are transformed from a narrow-minded action into a broad, sensible, meaningful action. So that is yajna, right? And then not only are we acting, we are also setting examples to others, and therefore that becomes our duty to be positive role models. And then change should not be forced. Even if somebody does not do what you are doing, do not force them to change. You need to inspire transformation, because transformation comes from within, change comes from outside, right? So and finally, we live in an illusion of control, but what we really control is what we consciously do. Everything else is what Prakriti does. Finally, the one who is pulling all the strings of Prakriti and Purusha is Paramatma. Right? So, I think it's already 12. In the next class, we'll interpret the conclusion and connect those words. What the karma sannyasa is nothing but yajna. Atma, what is that word here? 30. Adhyatma Chetas. What does Adhyatma Chetas mean? We'll see. What is Adhyatma Chetas? And what is, being desireless? What is being without a sense of ownership? We look at all those words and connect these. Was it good? Understood? Okay.
Now in this chapter you have 43 verses. So the chapter is continuing.
Yeah. The concept of karma will come to an end here. Karma Yoga. Then the next exposition is on desire, the nature of desire, which is basically what, it's the root of karma is desire. So, Arjuna has some questions on desire. So we have not come to an end of third chapter, we come to an end of Karma Yoga as he has taught. But then the next, I think, 6 or 7 shlokas are on desire. Very fantastic. We will connect the concept of desire to the creation of the world. So we'll go through what is the Hindu concept of creation, what is the Hindu concept of puja. Everything is connected to the exposition of desire. So we'll look at all of those things. So even though there are 7 verses, it's going to take a lot more classes because we are going to add all this. So this class will be like that. It's not just reading and translating and moving forward. It's going in depth. So even though I was thinking I need to finish this today, but it's not going to happen. But it's fine. But substance is more important than finishing. So we have a lot of time. So we can go on doing it as long as the temple permits. Okay. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Om